All right, let's talk about something we've all felt: anger in a relationship. It can feel like a hurricane in your own home, right? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the psychology behind it and give you some powerful, maybe even dark strategies to navigate that storm. You know the feeling. The air goes cold, a door slams shut, or maybe it's just that awful, heavy silence. You're just left there, heart pounding, thinking, okay, what just happened and what in the world am I supposed to do now?
So let's get right into it. Psychologically speaking, anger is basically a survival tool hardwired into our brains. And while that's great if you're, running from a tiger, in a marriage, it can become a weapon. The goal isn't to never get angry. The goal is to learn how to disarm it. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to decode what the anger is really about. Then we'll get into the tactics for the heat of the moment. After that, we'll talk about how to actually reconnect and, fix things. Then we'll build a solution together. And we'll wrap it all up with the biggest psychological secret for preventing it in the first place.
Okay, first up, decoding the anger. This is so crucial because a lot of the time, anger is just a mask. It's what we show on the outside when what we're really feeling on the inside is hurt or fear or even just deep frustration. If you skip this step, it's kind of like trying to put out a wildfire with a squirt gun.
And the stakes here, they're incredibly high. Just look at this. When we misinterpret what's really behind our partner's anger, a whopping 70% of those conflicts get worse. They escalate. So getting this first part wrong basically guarantees you're in for a much bigger fight. So, how do you get it right? You use this one simple, disarming question. Psychologically, this is a powerhouse. When you say, I see you're upset, you're validating their feeling. You're not agreeing, you're just acknowledging. And that simple act can literally lower the stress hormones in their brain, making a real conversation actually possible. Which brings us right to our next section. You're in the thick of it, emotions are redlining. What do you do right now? These are your immediate de-escalation moves. Think of this as your psychological first aid kit.
Check out this contrast. Our gut reaction is almost always defensiveness, right? To jump in and say, you're wrong because. But look, that escalates things 80% of the time. The other path, active listening, completely changes the game. It turns a battle into a puzzle you're trying to solve together.
And one of the best ways to do this is something called the echo technique. You just repeat back what you heard them say. So what I'm hearing is that you feel it shows you're listening. And again, it validates them without you having to agree. And don't forget the nonverbals. Uncross your arms, make eye contact. These small shifts send a huge subconscious signal that says, I'm not a threat.
Now, sometimes the smartest move is to just pause. A tactical retreat isn't storming out, it's a controlled break. And there's real science here. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes for our heart rates to come down from that fight or flight zone. You need that time for the logical, problem-solving part of your brain to actually come back online. This one feels totally counterintuitive, but it's a game changer. When you feel attacked, you want to interrupt, you want to defend yourself. But every single time you interrupt, you risk triggering their fight response all over again. Mastering silence shows you're actually there to listen, not to win. It's an incredibly powerful secret weapon.
Okay, so you've put out the immediate fire. The yelling has stopped. Now what? Well, now comes maybe the most important part, genuinely reconnecting. This is where you repair the damage and start to rebuild the trust that the argument might have cracked.
We've all heard a bad apology, and honestly, it's worse than no apology at all. A real apology is a psychological reset button, and this 3R method is your formula. You show regret, you take full responsibility, no excuses, and you offer a remedy for the future. And here's the golden rule. Never, ever follow an apology with the word but. It just cancels everything you just said. And if you're wondering if this stuff actually works, here's the proof. A proper, sincere apology, like the 3R method, can reduce the other person's anger by a massive 40%. It works because it taps into our brain's natural sense of fairness. When you make yourself vulnerable, it makes them want to soften their position too. So after you've apologized and made the repair, you have to reinforce the good stuff. Saying something like this helps fight back against our brain's negativity bias, our tendency to remember the bad stuff way more easily than the good. A little bit of gratitude here goes a long, long way. And that leads us perfectly into our next section, building the solution together.
Because the real goal here isn't just to stop one fight, it's to stop that same fight from happening over and over again. This is how you turn a single conflict into a win for your relationship's future.
It is amazing how much power is in a single word. Starting a sentence with you automatically sounds like an accusation, and it puts people on the defensive instantly. But just switching that one word to we, well, it changes everything. It's not you versus me anymore. It becomes us versus the problem.
And sometimes building a solution means bringing in an architect. Getting professional help isn't a sign that you failed, it's a strategic power move. I mean, look at this. Couples therapy has a 75% success rate. It's an incredibly effective resource to have in your back pocket.
And now we get to the heart of it all, the psychology of prevention. All the tools and tactics we've talked about are great, but this final piece of the puzzle explains why these fights even start. This is the ultimate dark fact about anger.
So what is it? What's the one psychological truth that could completely change how you see every argument from now on?
It's this concept right here, repetition compulsion. It's the idea that our subconscious minds are often trying to replay and resolve old, painful patterns from our past, usually from our childhood. So when you're fighting about the dishes, you might not really be fighting about the dishes at all. You might be subconsciously fighting a ghost from 20 years ago, trying to finally win an old battle. Knowing this can shift you from a place of anger to a place of empathy in a heartbeat.
And that brings us to the most important point of all. Understanding this psychology is a superpower. It can give you incredible insight into yourself and your partner. But with great power comes great responsibility. The goal is to use this knowledge to understand, to connect, and to heal, not to manipulate or to win. So the real final question is, what patterns might you be replaying? That's a thought worth sitting with.